Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio, Story 40.
The story drops us into a place called Zhuge City.
Right, and we're introduced immediately to a man named Shang Xiu. He's the father of our protagonist, Sang Guan,
And the text explicitly identifies him as a scholar.
which is huge. Because to a modern ear, scholar just sounds like a guy who reads a lot of books, right?
Yeah, like an academic.
But in this historical context, being a scholar carried immense sociopolitical weight.
Oh, it's a completely different ballgame. In the traditional Confucian social hierarchy of the time, the scholar was theoretically at the very top.
Above merchants, above farmers.
Way above. They represented education, morality, law, and civilization itself. Achieving scholar status meant passing these grueling civil service examinations.
Right, the imperial exams.
Exactly. And passing those could secure government postings and elevate an entire family's status. They were the societal ideal.
But Pu Songling, the author, immediately introduces a foil to this ideal.
He really does.
Because Shang Xiu, this respected scholar, he gets drunk and makes a joke that offends someone the text simply refers to as a tyrant or a bully.
Yeah, the text doesn't even give this guy a name. Just the tyrant.
Which is crazy to me. Why no name?
Well, the anonymity is entirely the point. He represents raw, unrefined, corrupt power. He is the complete antithesis of the scholar's civilized ideals.
That makes sense.
And this tyrant's response to a drunken joke isn't to debate or to demand a formal apology. He just simply orders his household servants, his retainers, to brutally beat the scholar.
And they don't just rough him up. They beat Shang Xiu so severely that he has to be carried home, where he literally dies from his injuries.
It's a shocking escalation.
It is. And let me just push back on this setup for a second. If scholars are at the top of the food chain, why does the father think he can joke with the local warlord? And more importantly, why does the warlord feel emboldened to murder him in broad daylight?
Right, it feels like a massive disconnect.
Yeah, between the theoretical law and the reality on the ground.
And that disconnect is the central thesis of this opening scene. The scholar assumed his social standing, his education, offered him a shield.
He thought he was untouchable.
Exactly. He thought he could banter because he belonged to a protected class. But the brutal reality of Zhuge City is that brute force and localized wealth completely overwrite national social ideals.
Wow.
The illusion of a civilized society is just stripped away in a single paragraph. Privilege in Zhuge City is purely theoretical. The tyrant's power is physical, immediate, and absolute.
Which sets up a terrifying dynamic for the family left behind. Because Shang Xiu leaves behind two adult sons named Chen and Li, and one daughter, our 16-year-old protagonist, Sang Guan.
And the sons do what you're supposed to do in a functioning society?
Right, they go to the authorities, they file a lawsuit against the tyrant.
Which is the civilized response.
But the text says they spent an entire year trying to sue him, and they failed to get any justice whatsoever.
A whole year. And the mechanics of a historical Chinese lawsuit make this failure even more agonizing.
How so?
Well, suing someone meant going to the local magistrate's office, which was called the yamen. You had to draft formal complaints, pay clerks to process them, and navigate this labyrinthine bureaucracy.
So it wasn't just showing up to a courthouse.
No, it was a constant drain on resources. And if the tyrant has bought off the magistrate, or even just the clerks who schedule the hearings, the lawsuit just goes nowhere.
Consider the psychological toll of that. For the listener, think about the frustration of playing by the rules in a game that is fundamentally rigged.
It's maddening.
It's like trying to sue a billionaire in a small town where the billionaire literally owns the judges, pays the salaries of the clerks, and has the police chief over for dinner every weekend.
That is a perfect analogy.
Every day for 365 days, the brothers wake up, they draft legal papers, they go to the magistrate, they make their case, and every single day they are met with a brick wall of systemic corruption.
And that year-long failure is the crucible that forces Sang Guan into action. The text explicitly notes the brothers return home bearing grievances, filling the household with an atmosphere of impotent rage.
Impotent rage, that's exactly what it is.
The legal route, the socially acceptable masculine avenue for seeking redress, is completely exhausted. The men are helpless.
So the men hit a dead end, and the supposed protectors of the family have failed. This is the exact moment the youngest member of the household, a teenage girl, steps into the spotlight.
She has to.
Yeah, and she does it by navigating two very visceral, very practical crises facing the family: a wedding and an unburied corpse.
Right, because the domestic situation is completely unraveling, Sangwon is actually engaged to be married.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, however, because her father was murdered, the marriage has been delayed for a period of mourning, which was standard cultural practice at the time.
That makes sense.
But the groom's family is growing impatient. They send representatives to Sangwon's mother, essentially demanding they bypass the formalities and just proceed with the wedding.
Yeah, the mother's clearly worn down at this
Oh,
point.
completely.
I mean, she has lost her husband. Her sons have spent a year losing lawsuits. Their finances are likely drained from paying all those yamen clerks. And she is on the verge of capitulating to the groom's family just to get her daughter settled.
It's a survival mechanism for the mother.
But Sangwon fiercely objects. She says to her mother, "How can we celebrate when father's corpse isn't cold? Do they not have parents?"
Sangwon is demonstrating extreme moral clarity here, anchored in filial piety.
Which is that absolute loyalty to the parents, right?
Exactly. The duty a child owes a parent. In her framework, proceeding with a joyful, red-bannered wedding celebration while her father's murder goes unpunished isn't just inappropriate, it is a cosmic violation.
A cosmic violation.
Yes, she points out the profound lack of empathy from the groom's family, signaling that she sees through societal expectations to the moral rot beneath.
Let me play devil's advocate here for a second, though.
Sure.
Couldn't you argue she is being slightly reckless?
Mm-hmm.
Like, by marrying into another family, she might gain new resources, new allies, or maybe even a new legal avenue to avenge her father. Refusing the marriage kind of isolates her further.
From a purely pragmatic modern standpoint, perhaps you could argue that. But in the cultural context of the time, a married woman belonged entirely to her husband's family.
Oh, so she wouldn't even be a Shang anymore.
Right. Her duty would completely shift from her murdered father to her new in-laws. By marrying, she would legally and socially surrender her ability to seek vengeance for the Shang family.
I see.
She is prioritizing her duty to her dead father over her own future, her own safety, and the intense societal expectation to become a wife. She just refuses to be neutralized by marriage.
And her forceful objection actually works. She stalls the wedding.
She holds the line.
But while she is handling that crisis with the mother, her older brothers are planning something truly unhinged.
This part is wild.
They plan to intentionally leave their father's corpse unburied. They want to use the exposed body as leverage, like a gruesome piece of physical evidence, to spark a new round of lawsuits.
Wait, leaving the body out? Was that an actual legal strategy?
Leaving a body unburied was a manifestation of absolute systemic desperation. By refusing to commit the body to the earth, they are refusing to let the matter be put to rest, literally and figuratively.
Wow.
It was a highly visible, deeply taboo form of protest. The hope was that the sheer horror and stench of an unburied scholar would create such a massive public disturbance that the magistrate would be forced to act out of sheer public shame.
That is incredibly dark. But Sangwon immediately shuts this down, too.
She does.
She tells her brothers people are killed and it's ignored, the times.
Yeah.
She demands they wake up and look at the reality of Zug City. Then she delivers this incredible line. She says, "Will heaven spawn a special Judge Bao just for you?"
That line is incredible.
Yeah.
But to fully grasp the sting of that insult, we really must understand who Judge Bao is.
Right. Unpack that for us. So, Bao Zheng is a towering historical figure who evolved into a legendary or almost mythological symbol of absolute incorruptible justice in Chinese folklore.
Like the ultimate good judge.
Exactly. He is the magistrate who cannot be bought, who possesses almost supernatural insight, and who will punish the guilty no matter their wealth or aristocratic rank.
So she is basically looking at her adult brothers and saying, "Do you think a superhero is going to drop out of the sky to save us?"
Yes. It is a deeply cynical, perfectly accurate read of their geopolitical reality. She's the only person in that household seeing the world without the filter of hope or delusion.
She sees things exactly as they are.
Right. She knows no magical savior is coming to fix a broken system. She then hits them with the moral argument, asking how they could possibly bear to let their father's bones be exposed to the elements and scavengers. She literally shames the men of the house into acting humanely.
I mean, for you listening, have you ever been in a crisis where the supposed adults in the room are either panicking or making terrible, irrational decisions, and you suddenly realize, with a sinking feeling in your stomach, that you have to be the one to take charge?
It's an awful realization.
It is. And Sangwon takes control, proves she is more logical than her brothers, and convinces them to finally bury their father.
And securing the dignified burial and stalling her marriage serves a crucial narrative purpose here. Sang-won has put the house in order.
The loose ends are tied up.
Exactly. She has severed her immediate earthly obligations, which leaves her completely free to disappear.
And disappear she does.
Yeah.
On the very night the funeral concludes, Sanwan just vanishes. She slips away into the dark.
Gone.
The mother is terrified, right? Not necessarily just for her daughter's safety, but terrified the groom's family will find out the bride has run away.
Eh.
So the mother keeps it a strict secret and sends the brothers to secretly scour the countryside.
But they find absolutely nothing. For half a year, she is just gone. 6 months of total silence.
Which brings us to the next phase, because the story shifts drastically here from a domestic family drama into a calculated thriller.
A very slow burn thriller.
Yeah. During those 6 months, Sanguine is running an incredibly complex long con. The text cuts abruptly away from the family and over to the tyrant, the man who ordered the murder. It's his birthday, and to celebrate, he throws a massive party, hiring an acting troupe led by a man named Sun Chun.
And Sun Chun brings 2 of his apprentices to perform at this private party. One is named Wang Cheng, who is noted for having average looks but a fantastic singing voice.
Okay.
The other disciple is named Li Yu, and the physical description of Li Yu is the absolute key to the entire operation. The text notes Li Yu is beautiful as a girl.
Beautiful as a girl, because Li Yu is, of course, Sanguine in disguise.
It's a brilliant reveal.
But the choice of an acting troupe, that is a stroke of tactical genius, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. Sang-won needs access to a man who is incredibly wealthy, heavily guarded, and likely paranoid. She cannot just walk up to his front door as a grieving daughter.
They'd kill her on the spot.
Exactly. But in historical China, traveling entertainers and actors belonged to a class called the Jianmen, which translates roughly to the mean or base people.
Base people, that sounds incredibly derogatory.
It was. They were the absolute lowest rung of society. They were viewed with deep suspicion, legally restricted in what they could wear or do, and considered essentially invisible by the elite.
Invisible. That is the key word. Here's where it gets really interesting. She essentially pulls off a deep-cover black ops mission by infiltrating the absolute lowest echelon of society to gain invisible access to the highest.
It's the perfect cover.
She isn't just putting on a fake mustache. She commits to a completely new identity. She is a 16-year-old girl, adopting the persona of a young male actor, who is specifically noted for looking like a beautiful girl. The layers of gender subversion are just dizzying.
They really are. And we also have to consider the timeline of her infiltration. We learn later from the troop leader that Li Yu Sang-won had only joined their specific troop a month before the birthday party.
Wait, a month before? Which means she spent 5 months surviving on her own, tracking the tyrant's schedule, identifying exactly which local troop he favored or would likely hire for his birthday, and then embedding herself with them a full month in advance just to secure an invitation into the compound.
It's terrifying, cold-blooded planning.
It really is.
Yeah.
It is the antithesis of the hot-headed action hero kicking down the door. Her vengeance is invisible, slow, and inevitable.
But, getting through the front gates is only the first hurdle.
Right.
Once inside the tyrant's compound, she has to navigate this chaotic party and somehow ensure she is the specific servant chosen to get close to the target.
And the strategy she deploys to close that final distance is a masterclass in psychological manipulation.
It truly is.
So during the party, the drunken guests call upon the beautiful young apprentice Li Yu to sing. Now, Sang-won is an educated scholar's daughter. She likely knows poetry and refined music, right?
Oh, absolutely. She's highly educated.
But she claims she's inexperienced. And when they force her to sing anyway, she performs a mix of children's rhymes and vulgar folk songs. And this is the best part. She performs them incredibly poorly.
The crowd's reaction is immediate mockery. They just burst out laughing. The troop leader, Sun Chun, is deeply embarrassed and apologizes to the tyrant, begging for forgiveness and explaining that the kid is a terrible singer and only really good for pouring drinks.
So Sun Chun orders Li Yu to step back and just serve the wine.
Exactly.
And this entire sequence of humiliation is completely engineered by Sang-won. She intentionally fails. She weaponizes her own perceived incompetence.
It's such a modern concept, really.
It is. Think about the corporate world today, or any modern power dynamic. If you want to fly under the radar of a toxic boss, you don't show off how brilliant you are, you make yourself look harmless.
By singing poorly and acting foolish, she achieves 2 critical tactical goals here. First, she removes herself from the spotlight. A star performer is watched by 100 eyes. But a clumsy servant pouring drinks becomes part of the furniture. Nobody looks at the furniture.
And the second goal.
Second, She lowers the tyrant's defenses. If she had appeared too competent, too sharp, or too observant, the tyrant's paranoia might have flared up. By presenting herself as a pathetic, subservient boy who is only good for carrying jugs of wine, she makes herself appear entirely non-threatening.
And while she is pouring the drinks, she executes the next phase. She serves him with incredible, laser-focused attentiveness. She is constantly observing his body language, anticipating his every whim, refilling his cup before he even realizes it's empty. She gives him exactly what he wants before he asks, and the tyrant is absolutely delighted by this. He becomes infatuated with this perfect, obedient servant.
Which, I mean, the psychological fortitude required to execute this is staggering.
Imagine the adrenaline. Seriously, put yourself in her shoes.
It's hard to even fathom.
The man sitting right in front of you is the warlord who ordered your father beaten to death. He is the source of your family's utter ruin, and he is sitting there, laughing at you, mocking your performance.
And you have to swallow every ounce of grief and rage, paste a subservient smile on your face, pour his wine, and play the eager fool.
It is like holding a live grenade with the pin pulled and maintaining a casual conversation.
Because one slip of the mask, like a glare that lingers for a fraction of a second, or a trembling hand while pouring the wine, and she is exposed and killed by his guards.
Instantly.
Her control over her own nervous system is absolute.
And her manipulation works flawlessly.
Yeah.
The trap she has spent 6 months building finally snaps shut. As the party winds down and the guests leave, the tyrant, completely infatuated with his perfect new servant, decides to keep Li Yu behind to sleep in his quarters.
He willingly invites his own executioner into his bedroom.
It's chilling.
It is. And the narrative tension in this lockroom sequence is brilliant. Pu Songling paints a very intimate, tense picture. Li Yu helps the heavily intoxicated tyrant undress.
Right. She brushes off his bed, takes off his shoes. She is perfectly attentive. And because she is handling everything so seamlessly, the tyrant dismisses all of his other servants. He isolates himself.
The text notes that as he drunkenly flirts with her, any smile she gives him only deepens his infatuation. She plays him perfectly, right up to the final second.
Until everyone is gone.
Exactly. Once the other servants leave the room to go drink in a separate courtyard, Sanguine makes her final preparatory move. She closes the door, and she locks it from the inside with a heavy wooden bar. She locks herself in with the monster.
And the author then makes a fascinating narrative choice. He removes the camera from the bedroom. We don't actually see the act of violence.
Oh, right. We stay outside.
Yes, we stay outside in the courtyard with the tyrant's servants. The tension is built entirely through sound.
The servants are drinking, and suddenly they hear strange, heavy noises coming from the tyrant's bedroom. The text describes it as a loud snap, like a heavy object breaking a thick rope.
That sound is so visceral. One servant goes to check, finds the room completely dark and silent, and gets no answer. Panic sets in. They force the door open, breaking the lock, and they stumble into a slaughterhouse.
They find the tyrant dead, but it is not a subtle poisoning, which might be the culturally expected method for a female assassin in these types of stories.
No, not at all.
He has been violently, completely decapitated. His body and his head are entirely separated.
And nearby, they find Li Yu dead by hanging. The loud snap they heard was the rope breaking under the weight of her body, dropping her corpse to the floor, while the frayed end of the rope still hangs from the ceiling beam.
It's a horrific scene.
It is, but I have to challenge the logistics of this. This is where my mind immediately goes. How does a 16-year-old girl physically overpower a grown man, presumably much larger, stronger, and well-fed than her, and manage to cut his head off?
It's a fair question.
I mean, decapitation takes immense force, leverage, and a heavy, incredibly sharp blade that she must have somehow smuggled into the compound past his guards.
The biomechanics of the act are difficult to fathom, for sure, but the text provides the contextual clues to make it plausible.
Okay, lay them out for me.
First, the tyrant is heavily, heavily intoxicated. His motor skills and reaction times are virtually non-existent.
Fair.
Second, she has the absolute element of surprise. He believes she is there to be intimate with him. His physical guard is completely down.
Right.
Third, and most importantly, the sheer adrenaline and hysterical strength fueled by 18 months of concentrated grief, rage, and meticulous planning culminate in a singular, explosive exertion of physical force.
And the choice of decapitation is vital.
Okay.
She didn't just stab him in the heart.
No, a decapitation is deeply symbolic. In traditional Chinese cultural beliefs regarding the afterlife, arriving in the underworld without a whole intact body is a severe punishment.
It's like an internal mark of shame.
It is the ultimate desecration. By severing his head, she isn't just ending his biological life. She is destroying his spiritual future. It is a loud, undeniable statement of absolute cosmic defeat.
But immediately after severing his head, she hangs herself. Why? I mean, she pulled it off, the door was locked, the servants were away drinking. Could she have tried to escape?
Escaping a fortified compound in the middle of the night, covered in blood, would be nearly impossible. But even if she could, her suicide is a calculated, necessary phase of her operation.
It wasn't just despair.
Not at all. It serves three distinct purposes. First, it prevents her from being captured and subjected to the horrific torture methods used by local warlords.
Which would have been brutal.
Second, it protects her family. A dead assassin cannot be interrogated. She cannot be forced to confess that the Shang family sent her, thereby saving her mother and brothers from the tyrant's family returning to slaughter them.
So even in the adrenaline-soaked aftermath of chopping a man's head off, she is thinking 3 steps ahead to legally and physically protect the very brothers who were too incompetent to protect her.
Precisely. And third, from a societal standpoint, taking her own life preserves her honor and agency. She has completed her filial duty, balanced the scales of the universe, and by choosing her own death, she controls exactly how her story ends. No man takes her life. She does.
The earthly vengeance is complete. The tyrant is dead. The assassin is dead. It feels like the gritty conclusion to an incredible historical thriller.
It really does.
But this is the studio of anomalies. As the servants are investigating the chaotic, bloody scene, they notice a physical detail that suddenly elevates the story into an entirely different genre.
The narrative violently shifts from the physical realm into the supernatural.
Right.
As the terrified servants move Liyu's body, they notice something strange about the young man's shoes. The footwear feels empty, almost hollow at the front.
They pull the shoes off the corpse, and inside they find what the text describes as white shoes like hooks.
White shoes like hooks, this is the revelation of bound feet.
And this detail is the linchpin of the entire narrative.
It absolutely is.
It is the moment the servants realize that Liu, the beautiful male actor, is actually a woman. But we need to spend some real time on this, because understanding the biological reality of bound feet completely recontextualizes every single thing Sanguine has accomplished over the last 6 months.
We really do need to understand this. The practice of foot binding involved taking a young girl, usually between the ages of 4 and 6, and systematically breaking the arches of her feet.
Just horrific.
The toes were then tightly wrapped and folded underneath the sole, bound tightly with cloth to prevent them from growing normally, creating a tiny, pointed shape, the hook or lotus foot.
The physical agony of this is hard to overstate. It caused chronic pain, frequent infections, rotting flesh, and purposefully limited a woman's mobility.
That was the point of it.
Women with bound feet often had difficulty walking long distances without assistance, let alone performing strenuous physical labor. It was a physical mechanism designed to keep women confined to the domestic sphere, making them reliant on the men of the house.
So evaluate Sanguine's long con through that lens. She didn't just plan a complex psychological assassination. She spent 6 months traveling the rugged countryside. She embedded herself with a traveling acting troupe, which means walking from town to town, carrying gear, performing on her feet, carrying heavy jugs of wine, serving at a chaotic party for hours.
And she ultimately overpowered and decapitated a grown man.
And she did all of this while suffering the extreme physical limitations and chronic, agonizing pain of broken, bound feet.
It changes everything. It proves that her strength wasn't physical, it was entirely psychological. Her sheer, unadulterated force of will simply overrode the physical reality of her disabled body.
It's mind-boggling.
And this extraordinary reality-bending willpower is exactly what triggers the supernatural event.
Yes, because the local authorities are finally notified. But while they wait for the magistrate to arrive from the yamen, the tyrant's family posts 2 guards to watch over the bodies in the courtyard.
Okay.
And the guards notice something deeply unsettling about Sanguine's corpse. The text says she looks alive. When they accidentally brush against her, her limbs feel warm and soft, not rigid and cold with rigor mortis like a corpse should be.
So the boundary between life and death is blurring. Her moral purity and her absolute commitment to her cause are so potent that they linger. She refuses to die completely.
But the guards, who work for the corrupt tyrant, are just as vile as their master. Seeing this beautiful, seemingly warm body, They secretly plot to sexually assault her corpse right there in the courtyard.
Ugh, that is vile.
It is a profound violation to degrade her, reassert control, and humiliate her even in death. One of the guards steps forward and touches her clothing, intending to undress her.
And the moment he touches her, it's like a landmine goes off.
Literally.
The text says the guard is suddenly struck in the head by an unseen, invisible force. He immediately, violently vomits blood, and he dies instantly on the spot.
The physical world tries to defile her, so she becomes a localized supernatural force.
The other guard is, understandably, absolutely terrified. He screams, alerts the compound, and the entire town is quickly gripped by awe and terror. They begin to revere Sangwon like a deity.
Because her willpower was so absolute that biological death was just an inconvenience.
Yeah, she doesn't need her body anymore to enact violence. She is still actively defending herself from beyond the grave.
In life, the tyrant commanded fear through the threat of physical violence. But in death, Sangwon commands absolute divine respect through an invisible, untouchable presence.
It's such an incredible flip.
And this supernatural intervention serves as the ultimate indictment of the earthly justice system. The courts failed her, so she became the executioner. The men failed to protect her body, so her spirit stepped in to shatter a man's skull.
Wow.
She is imposing her own moral order because the institutions built by men completely collapsed.
And it is only now, with the tyrant dead, the assassin dead, and the literal ghost striking guards dead in the courtyard, that the local authorities finally step back into the picture.
The irony is rich.
The very authorities who ignored her brother's lawsuits a year ago finally show up.
The magistrate arrives. He interrogates the troop leader, Sun Chun. But Sun Chun is clueless. He just repeats that Li Yu joined a month ago and seemed like a normal boy.
Right.
Because Sun Wan is wearing mourning clothes under her actor's disguise, the authorities suspect she might be an assassin sent by the Shang family. So the magistrate summons the two brothers, Chen and Li.
The brothers are brought into the courtyard. They are shown the body with the bound feet. They are stunned. They admit they haven't seen their sister in half a year, and they finally identify the body as Sangwon.
And the magistrate's reaction here is crucial. He is amazed by the entire sequence of events. He officially rules on the case, ordering the brothers to take their sister's body and give her an honorable burial.
And that's it.
Crucially, he also issues a strict legal edict forbidding the tyrant's family from seeking any revenge or retaliation against the Shang family.
So, on paper, the legal system finally works. The family's protected, the father is avenged, the daughter is honored. But the irony is thick enough to choke on.
You can cut it with a knife?
The system only worked because a 16-year-old girl forced its hand through extreme, premeditated violence and supernatural terror. The magistrate isn't granting justice. He is just a janitor cleaning up the aftermath of Sangwon's justice.
Precisely. Which brings us to the final fascinating section of our source text. The author, Pu Sombling, who often refers to himself as the historian of the strange, steps out from behind the narrative veil to offer his direct commentary on the story.
He breaks the fourth wall.
He does, and his commentary is incredibly sharp. He does not hold back.
He starts by explicitly shaming the two older brothers. He writes, "A house has a female Yu Rang, and they don't even know it. You can see what kind of men the brothers are."
Oh, that's brutal.
We need to unpack these historical references because they are vital to understanding how radical the author's point is. Who is Yu Ran?
So, Yu Rang is a legendary historical figure from the spring and autumn period, centuries before this story takes place.
Okay.
He is famous for going to unimaginable self-mutilating lengths to assassinate a rival lord who killed his master. He literally swallowed hot coals to change his voice and painted his skin with lacquer to induce horrific scabs so he wouldn't be recognized.
That is intense.
He is the ultimate mythological symbol of masculine loyalty and unrelenting vengeance.
And Pu Songlin is looking at Sangwon's brothers and saying, you had the ultimate badass living under your roof, and you were too blind, too incompetent, and too obsessed with your useless lawsuits to see it.
Exactly. And the author continues the comparison. The historian says that Sangwon's actions are so profound that if you compare her to Jing Ke,
Wait, who is Jing Ke?
another incredibly famous male assassin who famously crossed the freezing river Yi on a suicide mission to try and kill the Emperor of Qin, the author says Sangwon would make the river Yi ashamed to flow.
Let that sink in for a second. He is taking the most revered, hyper-masculine, legendary martial heroes of Chinese history men whose stories have been told for thousands of years to define bravery, and he is saying, this 16-year-old girl with bound feet is better than them. She puts the greatest men in history to shame.
It is a massive, deliberate subversion of gender roles. The men in this story, the scholar father who naively thought his status protected him, the brothers who fruitlessly filed papers in a corrupt court, the magistrate who only acted after the blood was already spilled, they are all shown to be ineffective, delusional, or cowardly.
Every single one of them.
The only person who sees the world clearly and takes decisive, effective action is the teenage girl.
And the author concludes with a very specific, fascinating call to action for his readers. He says, I wish women everywhere in their private quarters would buy silk and embroider her image. Her merit is no less than that of Guan Yu.
Equating her to Guan Yu is the ultimate elevation. Guan Yu is literally the god of war. He is the deity of loyalty, righteousness, and martial valor. Temples are built to him across the country. To equate a young girl's merit to the god of war is astonishing.